The police feared that if the Catholics broke out of the Bogside, they would attack Protestant areas. The Catholics were afraid of what the police might do if they got into the Bogside.
It is perfectly obvious that this country, under the present constitution, is ungovernable. You have civilians living in this area who are forced to barricade the place and to launch an almost military offensive on the police force of this country. Not because the people in this area want to break the law, but because they know that if they do not keep the police out of this area, that the police will come in here and ruin their homes and attack their wives and children. Therefore, since the police force are the people who are in fact disturbing the peace, there can be no confidence in the machinery of government.
In the early evening, the police tried to break through the barricades into the Bogside. What had begun as an incident between police and a handful of youths had become a pitched battle. By nightfall, it was stalemate. Petrol bombs from Catholic youths were being answered by CS gas from the police. It was the first time CS gas had been used in the United Kingdom. On the evening of the second day, Chichester-Clark went on television.
The irresponsible should know this. The law must and will be maintained. We have already said that we will not shrink from any necessary measure, however firm or however unpalatable. To that end, we are now acting to strengthen the hand of the forces of law and order. We will also use the special constabulary to the full, not for riot or crowd control, but to relieve the regular police of other duties.
The mobilization of the 8,500 B specials inflamed the Catholic population.
Somebody tries to throw that, the top will come out and the petrol will go all over his back. That's why we've had people burned down there. So get the cork in very, very tight, as tight as you can.
The local dairies later reported the loss of 43,000 milk bottles. That afternoon, with the RUC exhausted, Chichester-Clark asked for troops to be sent in. In London, the Home Office had already decided their use was inevitable. As night fell, sympathetic rioting broke out across the province. Northern Ireland was on the verge of civil war. Now the focus of events shifted to Belfast. Here the situation was particularly grave. Police failed to control Protestant mobs. In the morning, Belfast Catholics were filmed abandoning their homes. That night had left 8 people dead. Eventually, 1,500 Catholic families and 315 Protestant families left their homes. On the morning of the 15th of August, 1969, British troops had marched into the streets of Belfast. Civil war had been averted by the intervention of the British Army. It was with considerable reluctance, and only to prevent great loss of life and damage to property, that the British government put its troops onto the streets. In the eerie calm that now descended on the province, both politicians and soldiers knew that it was going to be easier to send the troops in than get them out. Now the British government and its army were inextricably caught up in Northern Ireland and its future. The people of Belfast, particularly the Catholics, welcomed the army. They had brought an end to the burnings and killings. But armies are not constabularies, and soldiers are not policemen, nor are they a substitute for cogent political policies. No one knew this better than the army.
Thank you, there. Thank you. Two, please, there.
The honeymoon period cannot, I do not think, continue forever, obviously. We're perhaps at the peak now, where everybody's smiling and swapping cups of tea and all this sort of business and cracking jokes. But unless there is a solution or some hope for the future, and this is where the politicians have got to come in, the soldiers are not going to be welcomed on the streets.
I wonder
and ever.
The Home Secretary, James Callaghan, visited the troubled province on the 27th of August, 1969. For 45 years, British politicians had ignored Northern Ireland. It was the business of a Home Office department which also regulated London taxicabs and British summertime. No senior civil servant in Whitehall had worked full-time on Northern Ireland.
Well, you must have got thousands of pictures of us by now. We're not as handsome as all that. If we were Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, come on.
In Derry's Bogside, Callaghan was greeted by enthusiastic crowds. John Hume, a moderate Catholic politician, also welcomed him.
On behalf of the people who are, in my view, the living symbols of injustice in Northern Ireland, I welcome you here because you will find in this area the worst housing and the highest unemployment and the heaviest immigration. And I hope you're bringing the solution with you.
Sir, this is Mr. Cooper too.
I'm very glad to come. Very glad indeed to be here and to see everybody, and I want to be able to see everybody.
Please hold back for talk.
Already the British government had announced that the B specials would be phased out, and Callaghan's civil servants were reviewing discrimination in housing and jobs. Caught in the crowd, he was forced to address the Bogsiders from an upstairs window.
I was told yesterday that I was welcome because I am neutral. I replied, I am not neutral. I am on the side of those, whoever they may be, and in whatever community they live, who are deprived of justice and of freedom.
In Belfast, the army would soon be confronted with the complexity of Ulster street politics. In the August fighting, both Protestants and Catholics had protected their districts by building barricades. The politicians ordered the army to pull them down and erect an official barrier, a peace line to keep the two communities apart. Both sides were suspicious, but they reluctantly agreed. Leader of the Protestant Shankill Defence Association, John McCaig,